I talk about superhero content a lot, don't I? And I also used to talk about PSAs a lot as well. So since it's that time of year to give back to people, why don't I mix the people that like my superhero content with the people that like my PSA content and talk about superhero PSAs? I think we all know that PSAs were a big thing around the 70s and 80s, so with PSAs being widespread and those companies wanting to push their message onto kids sometimes, they decided to add some recognizable superhero faces behind the PSAs. Before I get into it, I'm going to clarify that these are only PSAs that were aired on TV or shown in cinemas, not really weird PSAs that show up in comic books. Maybe I'll talk about that another time. Anywho, I have more to talk about than I thought, so let's talk about the superhero that I'll talk about the most on this channel, with Batman.
A ticking bomb means trouble for Batman and Robin.
Okay, so I've definitely talked about this PSA a million times already, and yeah, it's still funny. Half of the reason as to why it's funny is the fact that it just exists. Just what a strange idea for a PSA where they decide to show Batgirl demanding equal pay from Batman as he and Robin are about to get blown up. There's the obvious point that superheroes don't get paid anyways, but god damn, this is the worst time to bring something like this up. My main question is, what if Batman never said yes to equal pay in this scenario? Would she just leave the two there to die just because she isn't getting paid as much as Robin? Who knows, but the PSA is just a classic. It's very strange and funny at the same time for how absurd the whole PSA is.
Same job, same employer means equal pay for men and women.
No time for jokes, Batgirl. Hello, boys and girls.
Speaking about strange PSAs, here we have Adam West as Batman yet again, but instead of the PSA being interesting by setting up some kind of scenario, he just lectures you about savings bonds and how you can get one. Adam West presents this like it's a PowerPoint presentation for a class he doesn't care about. It doesn't help that he's reading half the script off of the cue card. Man just didn't prepare for this PSA at all, did he? Oh well, it's still funny because of how little care the creators of this PSA had towards this message, from Adam West's delivery to the message to the background of this shot with a small US savings bonds poster behind him. You know what we're missing though? A British Batman PSA.
Hello, citizens.
Yeah, this is actually a PSA from the UK, even though it's Adam West back yet again, but this time around he's telling kids how to be safe around road traffic. We get to learn the curb drill from Batman himself and how to cross the road safely. Man's really doing God's work. And hey, this is the first time that Batman's been in the UK, but he ended up going back there thanks to Batman the Animated Series with the episode The Lion and the Unicorn. Surprisingly though, that's all for Batman besides the Super Friends PSA about the Heimlich maneuver that probably didn't help people's thoughts about Batman and Robin at the time. So how about we talk about the Boy in Blue, since there's more Superman PSAs than Batman PSAs.
Just try one. If you don't like it, it's easy to give up.
Oh yeah, this is an absolute classic. Gotta love how nicotine tries to persuade kids to smoke as emotionless Superman comes to stop him.
Uh-oh, nicotine. I'd better move fast.
Uh-oh, this sounds like a big issue that I need to sort out urgently. Also, why are these kids sounding a bit British since this is an American PSA? Odd. But Nicotine has a good design even though he got that dumpy as he's crawling away from Superman. I'll assume that these PSAs did well since they made another 2 PSAs with Nicotine. They all have the same kind of scenarios where Nicotine tries to get kids to smoke, but with the second one, Nicotine approaches kids rollerblading, and for some reason Superman sends Russian. The final one has Jimmy telling Lois and Clark about a wizard teaching kids tricks with cigarettes, as the Superman voice actor gets replaced yet again. The main thing that is notable about these PSAs is that the animation is really good. Fun fact about the PSAs, they actually used the same animation director who had gone to work on Who Framed Roger Rabbit and The Thief and the Cobbler, that is Richard Williams. I would also be here all day if I talked about everything that happened with The Thief and the Cobbler, but maybe I'll talk about that another day since it is quite an interesting thing.
Alright, no homework today. Let's do something fun.
So, Superman and Wonder Woman, anyone? Yeah, well we have them both grabbing these 2 kids away from some older kids that are trying to give them both a joint, and throw them into a boys and girls club instead. God, you can really tell this was made back in the 80s. Back when weed was the devil, and even superheroes were trying to stop kids from falling into the drug dealers' traps. It's so funny because these 2 just pop up out of nowhere and abduct these kids and throw them in a boys and girls center. I still feel like this is in between a PSA and an advertisement, since they're telling people to go to the boys and girls club instead of staying on the streets. Still kinda strange, but funny in some ways.
Uh-oh, young Tommy is smoking a cigarette.
So we got some Super Friends stuff going on here, as Superman just shames Tommy for smoking at his own baseball game. I was gonna say who the hell smokes when playing sport, but this was the 70s, so people would probably be smoking on the benches for all I know. But is it that Tommy's smoking is affecting his baseball skills, or that he just sucks at baseball? Probably both. I do love how the PSA ends with Superman saying that smoking makes you a loser, with that very strange head shake.
I wish I could play like the other kids, but I have asthma.
Another Superman PSA with baseball? Surprisingly, yes. But this time around, the PSA just gets straight to it by saying that kids with asthma don't have to sit out from the fun with the help of this package from the American Lung Association. I actually don't really have much to say about this PSA, besides from why is Superman's hair blue? I know it's meant to be the light hitting his hair, but it just looks like Clark dyes his hair. Oh boy, this is a PSA I haven't talked about in a long time. It's honestly pretty standard, but the one thing I want to mention is why does Superman fly like that when taking the guy back home? It's a bit strange, but alright.
Hello, I'm Soldier Boy.
Oh shit, this wasn't meant to be here. Well, let's be real, this ain't that far from what we actually got so far with these PSAs, especially with Soldier Boy calling the viewer a loser for doing drugs. Superman did the exact same thing but with cigarettes, so it's believable. But let's talk about a real PSA this time. Jesus, why is Spider-Man being framed like he's a villain in this situation? From the ominous music to the dark background, it's very strange. Also, hold on. Is this the exact same Spider-Man suit from the Atari game ad? You know, the one where Green Goblin joins Spider-Man on the roof as he's playing the Spider-Man game? It has to be. The PSA itself is pretty basic, as Spider-Man tells you to register to vote, but what if you rocked up to your local school's gym to vote and said that Spider-Man sent you? They'd probably look at you and think, what the fuck is wrong with you? Still kind of funny how strange and weirdly shot it is, and hey, I can copy Spider-Man's signature now. Thank you, PSA. So yeah, that's it for superhero PSAs. I know that there aren't actually that many PSAs starring superheroes, but there are two I didn't talk about. There's a Deadpool PSA that was released in 2016 about breast cancer, and I just didn't have much to say about it since it's exactly what you would expect it to be, but without any swearing. Besides from that, there's that one Deadpool and Wolverine PSA that came out this year about using your phone in the cinema, which is pretty funny, but there really aren't that many superhero PSAs around. There's PSAs about being a superhero and like using the theming of superheroes to convey a certain message, but actually featuring superheroes? Not many. Yeah, there are some others out there, such as this PSA where a drunk man thinks he's a superhero then falls to his death, but unfortunately there aren't actually that many superhero PSAs out there. Maybe I'll cover all the weird PSA stuff that happened in superhero comics in the future, but hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, you know what to do. Check out my Patreon, you can get some awesome benefits for as little as $2 a month. And anyways, I'll see you on the next one.